Hi. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Greetings from all of us. And thank you for joining today's webinar. I would like to first greet everyone on the panel, as well as our audience who has been kind enough to take out time for today. Uh, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on what part of the world you have joined this session from. Today's session is titled From Hours to Minutes, AI led technical interviews and coding intelligence for modern engineering hiring. I am Nikhil. I am Director of India Operations here at Suitable AI. And I am very happy to have two esteemed panelists today with me, Shailesh and Yogesh. I'll be happy to introduce you guys. As far as Suitable AI is concerned, we enable enterprises to build world class engineering teams by helping them screen, assess, shortlist technical talent faster with AI agents, which provide evidence based hiring and less manual efforts. We work with GCCs, innovation labs, R&D centers across the globe, and now more effectively in India and across sectors like software, telecom, automotive, tier ones, OEMs, medical device manufacturing, aerospace, different sectors. Today's idea of this webinar was to address a problem that we are seeing greatly. And that problem is that hiring teams are not short of resumes, but are short of time and structured evaluations and reliable evidence to make decisions faster. And this is the problem that we are going to discuss, that hiring managers are spending too much time in repetitive screening while, and can we move from a technical hiring process which takes multiple days to hours and reduce the manual effort with structured evidence. And this is the discussion agenda for today. Again, like I said, thank you all of you for joining, and let's quickly move on and start the session. So I'll start with the introduction. Shailesh Bhor, one of the people in the industry with over 2 decades of experience in Microsoft. Shailesh has led and built cross-functional teams focused on execution and delivery. One good part about Shailesh's profile is that he brings in years of experience in a product company as well as a service company like Mindtree, and which will be a very important perspective for all of us. He has been on both the sides of the table, and he has enterprise transformation experience. He has led large-scale technology programs, and of course, he has a lot of tremendous execution intelligence. So thank you, Shailesh, for taking out the time for today's session. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Yeah, same here.
Uh, Thank you. Moving on, I'll quickly introduce our other panelist, Yogesh. Both the speakers over here, I have had the privilege and honor of knowing them and serving them with suitable AI in some capacity or the other. Yogesh is the CTO at Spiro. Spiro is one of the fastest growing uh, uh, EV companies out of Africa. He has over 2 decades of experience in technology leadership across EV, AI, IoT, telematics, connected mobility domains. And he has scaled engineering teams across India, Africa, US, UK, different parts of the world. And his experience today is very highly relevant for us because scaling teams is not just about finding resumes, it's about finding people who can fix complex problems in complex engineering environments. So thank you again, Yogesh, for taking out the time. I know you are busy. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Nikhil, for having me.
Uh, we can go to the next slide. So before I jump to the roadmap, I would both Yogesh and Shailesh have had the pleasure, have had the interaction with our AI agent Nancy, or which is an AI agent which takes first level of phone screening. So I would like both of you, if you can just quickly tell about your experience of talking to her. How was your how was your overall interaction, and how did you feel about interacting with an AI agent? Yeah, you can take it one by one. You can, Yogesh, you can start.
Yep. Thanks, Nikhil. Thanks for setting the context. And yeah, it was this conversation that I had with Nancy. It was really interesting because when I got the first call, I was in some meeting, so I was not able to take that call. But uh, the name flashed, so I understood that it's called from Suitable AI and Nancy. So I knew what it was for, but I was not able to attend. Then after a while, I got a WhatsApp message from Nancy saying that, what is the suitable time for calling. And then based on that, the next time again, Nancy called, like the AI called, and I was very surprised that it looked very natural. So that is what caught my attention. And I was trying to, test or to some extent break it, like by asking, okay, I've not understood this question, please explain. And she was very patiently, like a person usually explains. So I mean, I found it quite, good. So yeah, it was good experience that way.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. And someone of your experience and expertise interacting with Nancy and giving good feedback is very good for the industry and our confidence as well. Shailesh, what was your experience like?
Yeah, I second to what Yogesh said. Because I knew we were trying out your AI based interview. Otherwise, I would say, uh, you know, for a person, he would take time to just realize that it was an AI who was, it was an agent that was taking the interview. Otherwise, it was very natural. In fact, you know, on a funnier part, I tried to break it towards the end, saying that, uh, this is what package I want. And as you mentioned at the start of the call, that this is for a leadership hiring, and the CTC lies between 30 to 80 lakhs. And then I said like oh, but I have already have offers in hand which are of 80 lakhs. It doesn't make sense if 80 lakhs is the highest bar for you. I don't want to waste my time. Right? That's how generally executives speak, right? I just hope that if I'm going through all these rounds, I'm making the worth of the time that I'm spending for an interview. So please let me know if 80 lakhs can be negotiable. Then only I'll move ahead, right? Yeah, and it was very smart to catch up that it didn't commit, but at the same time, it intrigued me to go in for that interview, right? Because it was generally how would an HR talk with me is like, don't look from the package perspective. This is an opportunity, and definitely we will once we have the rounds, we will definitely look back of what can be scaled on the current packages that you have. So it was like a conversation for me, right? I never felt that I'm talking to an AI agent, and I deliberately wanted to break it, but it didn't break, right? So it did bring in the human aspect a lot of times, right? When I was talking with it. So yeah, it's been a while that I've been given interviews, so it was a nice experience for me.
No, no, definitely. I did have a chance to undergo the conversation. I think it was around 14-15 minute long call. And I also saw that there were opportunities where it could have broken, but the guardrails and the advancement with AI has been so fast that, that we are also witnessing that the gap and between AI and human conversations has reduced. And that is a very good segue into the roadmap for today, which will talk about these things in detail. And this is, I think, a good idea on how we structure the conversations today. We can first talk about the hidden cost of hiring. It is not just the what actually leads when you hire slow, specifically in companies with the scale of Microsoft or with the agility of Spiro. That will be something that will be all interested in hearing, that what happens when you hire slow, how do things break. Then we will move into what are the practical implications of AI agents today. How can they support in screening? How can we can discuss a real case study which we helped a big automotive company in hiring. And after that, we will try to break it down into resume, first level phone screening, video interview, and finally some limitations of why AI is not there yet. The important point over here for us to remember, and from my end also, is to give real value to our audience into whether they can leverage the quality aspects of AI that we are talking about after this webinar. So this will be the structured theme. and we can proceed with the first part, and that is Prakhar, we can move to the next slide. That is the hidden cost of slow hiring. But before we go, there's a poll. I think it's a very interesting question that can also give gravity to what we are discussing. And you all can see the poll in the chat. And once you are able to see, you can give your answers. And the question is that if your hiring manager had to spend 50% less time on taking technical interviews, what will be the biggest business impact? Will it be faster project delivery, more roles closed, better candidate experience, less dependency on hiring manager ability, or more time for strategic workforce planning? So this is a question which you can submit, and we can see the results. Prakhar, can we see the results now on how the candidates have given the voting? Has the voting finished?
Yes, now we can check it out on the chat.
Okay. How are the results coming on?
60% believe that faster project delivery is the answer.
And that is exactly why we feel that the gravity of slow cost of hiring, this is, we wanted to validate it with audience involvement, because we also believe that the hidden cost of slow hiring is much more. And this hiring manager's time is expensive, and if it is wasted in repetitive technical screening, it can lead to project delays. So we took out some data before this event, and that data is from renowned publications like NASCOM or Team Lease or big staffing companies data, which talks about that over 6.7 million hours are spent annually in conducting technical interviews by C-suite level hiring managers, and that leads to multiple interviews. So over 10 million hours are wasted. That is the this is the slide that shows the scale of human interviews and the hour consumed. Exact numbers aside, but the pattern is clear that companies are spending massive amount of time in repetitive evaluation. Here I have a question for Shailesh. Shailesh, in large organizations like yours, do hiring delays usually just show up as an HR vanity metric, or do they eventually become a delivery and a business problem, like our audience pointed out?
Yeah, so just to reiterate, yeah, I did see, most of the audience coming in and saying that, faster project delivery, right? Yeah, I would still say that that's only the one aspect that, we can see as candidates, or like, people who are working on projects and have positions to fill in, right? But the other areas, which really this is very directly relational. When you say that, hey, we couldn't close in the position, that means there is going to be a delay in the project, right? But then just look at the other impact that we have, right? If we are delayed in hiring, so what happens is like, what I've seen is like high quality candidates, they often accept offers from faster moving competitors, right? Before you can, go and, try to have negotiations or multiple, rounds of interviews. But if you want really good top talent, your recruitment process should be fast, right? Second is, whenever we are hiring, right, there are two things that we are hiring for. One is an existing project workload that cannot be met with the existing team. So the if you do not hire in time, it is definitely going to reduce the team productivity, plus a lot of
Hmm.
burnout with the existing team that you have. And then you have a risk of attrition in the team also, right?
Hmm.
So this is one aspect. And the other aspect is, you definitely are going to lose, business opportunities if you don't hire quickly, right? So, uh, longer hiring cycles require more sourcing, coordination, candidate re-engagement, and all those will eventually add up to the cost. And again, one more important thing is like, your damaged employer brand, right? So at Microsoft, we ensure that there is no communication gap, that whenever we are hiring, there is least communication gap. There is less void time whenever the engagement is there with the candidate. So overall, if you so there are these multiple metrics that we look at other than just did we hire in time, right? Or what was the loss? So these are the different KPIs that our HRs also track while we are doing the hiring.
No, very interesting. So employer branding getting affected, candidate engagement getting candidate sentiment, and it kind of puts pressure on the existing team and the workload that they are facing, which can lead
Yep.
to not just not hiring new people but also letting the existing team go. So that is a real impact, and that is a very a good sort of setting the agenda of the next slide. That is uh, slow cost of hiring is one thing, but what we view over here, Prakhar, we can move on to the next slide. At Suitable is that into 2026, with the advent of AI, a new infrastructure needs to be introduced in organization where every candidate can be screened consistently, every conversation can be captured, and every shortlist or every feedback can come with evidence. And this process can compound, and this is what the workflow that we have reimagined hiring, or specifically project-based hiring, C2H hiring from a lens. And our workflow has three parts at Suitable AI. That is, the first is resume screening. Second is first level of AI screening with Nancy, our phone agent. Third is a deeper technical screening through Alex, which is our video interviewing agent. Nancy handles the initial outreach. Alex handles deeper video interviews, coding intelligence, and the goal is to ensure that when humans spend time, because humans will have to spend time, they spend it on candidates who are already evaluated and have some sort of structured evidence, and that kind of fits the entire piece of the puzzle. That's what we believe. Moving on to the next slide, Prakhar. Over here, I would like to share some sort of case studies that we have encountered in our tenure, and also what we have noticed, clients specifically who are in automotive domain who are trying to build out teams based on project basis encounter. So we got a problem from a big automotive company, a EV giant, that they had to hire specifically 70 engineers within a period of 7 days, and the challenge was massive. And normally, this would break the process. Either the quality will drop, either you will do some compromise there, or timelines will slip, or the business will compromise. But we have done it with AI-led technical assessment, video interviews. So organizations could move faster from manual process to evidence-based shortlisting, and we were able to hire these candidates for them. And the key was not just AI; it was structured requirements by the hiring manager, clear evaluation criteria, proper candidate engagement, and AI generated evidence for leadership review. And Yogesh, you now my question comes to you. In an urgent hiring situations, and both you and I know that you have been in those situations multiple times over the past few years, what gives you more confidence? Just a pure resume that comes to you, or a structural technical evaluation report with some sort of evidence? What will give you more confidence as a hiring manager? And if you have encountered such problems, what did you do then?
Yeah, of course. So I think it's very obvious. Like once you see the benefits of the structured feedback, which I've actually seen myself, because our organization uses your system to do the initial screening of the candidate with the help of Alex. So it's very helpful, right? So for example, just looking at the resume, I mean, all the resumes are really great nowadays with the help of the
Yeah.
LLM systems and with the help of ChatGPT and all. The resumes are really great. So you can't really differentiate from the resume that is the candidate really good. And when you have an urgency to hire resources like this, what you presented over here. Similarly, when we were building startup, we also had a very similar urgency to get going as early as possible. So having the initial screening done by AI will save a lot of hours, lot of business hours, because I remember those days where I half of my day was gone in conducting interviews, right? And once and what is really disappointing is we find that okay, a lot of these people that we speak to are not even good enough. And then we realized, and then I realized the power of Alex, that okay, you have these guys getting screened in the very initial phase. So you don't have to talk to 10 guys, but you only have to talk to that one guy who has been screened, and the score is really good. And you can also go back to that video, you can go through those recordings, you can also look at the coding test that has been conducted, and you can also understand how the fitment is going, right? Because maybe the score is really good, but the candidate is not really fit because he has not scored well on a specific aspect. So I think all those
Yes.
different aspects can be seen. So it's not like you have just an overall view, but you can have a view of different section, which is, and the section which is of most of your interest. So I think while I was working with Ankit, I remember we also had requested him to add a section of for critical thinking and add a section for
Yes.
logical thinking along with the coding test. So I think all in all, if you want to do fast hiring without compromising on the quality, I think Alex as a solution really stands out. Yeah.
This is a very important point, Yogesh, that you made, and Prakhar, this is the point that we have addressed in the next slide, that resumes are becoming perfect. We can move on to the next slide, Prakhar. Every resume that we also now get from our team or for hiring managers is absolutely perfect. So have they become unreliable, or and Yogesh, again a question to you. Like, you have hired for specialized roles like IoT, telematics, or any specific role which does not have a large pool of candidates. So do for specialized skills, does resume screening and scrutiny become different and more important, or we just don't rely on resumes and we just go for the structured candidate report that Alex gives? Like, how do you think when such role comes across your table?
Yeah, so I would say that, I mean, in while we do specific hiring for roles like geospatial roles that we are hiring, or IoT telematics, I think the resume all looks the same. You will not even find a lot of difference. But what really stands out is, while we get some structured feedback around the problem that is solved. Okay, that's the differentiator. For example, if you're talking about telematics or geospatial solution, the challenge of how someone has really scaled the solution, the person who has really done it can only speak it with authenticity. Others will
Yes.
just give some random examples, and when you double click with the help of this the automated system, or even while you talk to him direct, I mean, you realize in the first 10 minutes itself that it's just a resume. And uh, I think the structured feedback is of great help.
Prakhar, if you can move on to the next slide. This was the point that I was coming into, that now we believe that in 2026, more more than ever, we need candidates to be spoken to. We can't just rely, and like you said, the real clarity comes with the authenticity that they bring in, that whether they have actually worked on a project, what kind of cases they had handled, what kind of problems that they encounter. And this is where we at Suitable do utilize Nancy AI for first level of initial screening. I think the role of recruiter has evolved. Typically, the recruiter was just you know requested to make a call and do basic hygiene check. But now it's very important. What matters is not just speed, but also in-depth first level conversation with the candidate. And when we introduced it, we were seeing that how do high level candidates with domain expertise engage with our AI system. But we are very happy to see that the call pickup rates has increased. Like Shailesh said in his intro, that the depth of conversation he had with Nancy was very high. Even you can do reschedules. If you are busy, you can tell Nancy that, hey, I'm free at 8 o'clock. So she can call you after office. She can call you on a Sunday. So manual screening typically you to depend on recruiter bandwidth and recruiter depth of understanding of that particular role, their follow up, their discipline, their note quality. But with the advent of AI, we have seen that scale, and we have seen that in numbers. Our conversation durations have increased, our call pickup rates have increased, and this is something that we are witnessing, and this is a 10x benefit. Sailesh, have you also implemented something like this in first level screening, and what are your views on the evolution of first level screening, and whether you can ever go back to pure human first level screening now?
Yeah. So just to summarize, right? These AI tools are not about like who can process the most resumes, right? A thousand
Yes.
resumes, and then you get 10. It's not about that, right? The AI systems need to evolve, right? And they should given I would say like it's not about who can process the most resume. It's about who can uncover the most genuine signal, behind the resume, right? So I would say like nowadays it's a bigger problem for recruiters, right? Because the recruiters may receive hundreds of resumes where the format is excellent, the keywords
Yes.
match perfectly, the accomplishments are very well written, right? So the because most of the resumes today are been enhanced, or they are becoming more of a marketing material, right? So to understand the depth of that resume is where the differentiation can come in, because not every human recruiter will be able to have the domain expertise across all the requirements that they have across the organization. So the true differentiation now comes through these agent tools that can you know uh, bring in the depth of experience, this very specific, who can catch the specific the specific achievements, and uh, and then how is the problem solving ability of the candidate. And this cannot happen just through passing the resumes, but we need this first level of screening, where the your agents like Nancy and these folks get into that vigorous mode of asking questions which are very relevant for those specialized roles, right? So uh, I'll give you an example. While I was hiring, like we have not yet implemented, but one of our partner recruiting. Just give me a second.
Hmm.
So one of our partner recruiting firms for Microsoft, they also use this AI based first level screening, right? So the
Hmm.
resume, we were hiring for a specialized role, and the resume did say like it was more of cloud migrations that we were looking out for an experienced person on cloud migrations. So the resume did write that uh, uh, that guy had actually only participated as a team member for a cloud migration, right? But then we were
Hmm.
looking out for someone who had led cloud migration, at an enterprise level. So the initial screening, when the resume looked perfectly fine, and we felt like, okay, this guy has done large scale migrations. But when the AI based, or like the agent, when there was audio round, in that audio round, when we were trying to get the agent tried to get the specifics, and that's where we caught that okay, this guy, so resume was written by and developed through AI systems. And now when the actual AI system is doing an audio check of with all the things that are mentioned on the resume, we could catch that, right? So uh, uh, I definitely suggest that first level of screening through AI agents can help reduce a lot of noises that flow through the system, and where a human, again, for niche roles, I my personal belief is a human has to be involved. AI cannot close on to the loop, right? Because
Hmm. Hello. I think we lost Shailesh there, but I think what he was saying was that a human has to be involved in the process, and AI itself can't close the loop. And that is the idea. We can move on to next slide, Prakhar. In the meanwhile, Shailesh can set it up. Can you hear me, Shailesh, now
yeah,
properly?
yeah, yeah, there was a small
Yeah,
glitch in the network.
yeah. You
Yeah,
can
so
continue. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So no, the whole idea is I'm a plus one for first level of screenings. For niche roles, I would still say that the hiring manager has to be a human touch, because you need to look at multiple different parameters other than just the skill sets. So and what Nancy, like the first level screening that I had given for the leadership role with suitable AI's tool, I think so it was a thing that all the organizations should start doing.
Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. And in it's again a good segue to the next point, that the idea of Prakhar, we can move to the next slide. The idea of AI interviews should not be there to replace human judgment, but should be to upgrade human judgment with better evidence and faster processing. So Nancy, while Nancy or a phone AI agent gives you a bird's eye view of, whether the candidate is motivated, whether the candidate knows certain aspects, but we still believe that for deeper evaluation, for serious evaluation where you need to test their actual skill sets, you need to evaluate their problem solving, attention to detail, technical skills. There are still video interviewing agents that we use, one of them being Alex. And Alex is capable of taking a face to face human like interview with coding and all. Now, over here, the thing is that, and this is a question again for you, Yogesh, that what would make you trust an AI interview report? Would you just look at the score alone? Would you look at the transcript? Would you look at the video? Would you look at the coding output? Or you would look at the combination of all the parameters? How do you read an AI report of Alex, and how do you trust it?
Yep. So, so based on experience, like of few of the positions that we are filling, and Alex was doing those initial screening. I so the place where the score is really good, I actually go and look at all the sections where the score is really good, and I also look at coding section, and I understand what approach he has taken, and that really helps me to understand how the person is approaching a problem. So I personally have found combination working really well, and I'll tell you one aspect, like just coming one aspect can slightly be uh, not give us a very clear answer. Like, I mean, it can be like we'll overlook a lot of other things and we'll just go by the score. But overall, I think that a combination of all, because transcripts are also good. I mean, if you just want to see someone who has like really aced it, right? So I mean, then the only thing that you might do is, I mean, average. The programming is good, is 10 on 10 in that all aspects. And maybe you just look at the transcript and say that, okay, you just trust it and you go ahead with it. But for key positions, I would really like to go and look at all the combination, because that's what I've been doing, and I find that more comfortable. I just don't believe only on the transcript. I don't feel very comfortable about that.
Interesting, interesting. And this is another thing that we are working on with our clients as well, that giving them making the transcript interactive, like in case there are certain aspects, rather than looking at the entire coding round, we want to jump into that specific problem solving ability of the video interview. The AI agent can move directly. It's like a YouTube timestamp, and you can give her evidence of that particular skill set. Shailesh, any thoughts on video interviewing agents which do deep technical screening from your end? What are your views on this?
Yeah, so for me, for video interviews, again, like it's about I would come to the aspect where is we have seen, right, lip syncs and all those stuff come into picture,
Hmm.
right, where the trust issues come into play, right? So um, uh, for the result score, right? Yeah, definitely. One thing that I would love to see as a part of the video interviews as a result for the interview is, like, how much was the candidate true with what was written on their resume, right?
Hmm.
So coding and all that stuff, I do understand it's like a black. It's very easy to figure out whether the candidate is technically good or not. But then uh, from a trust perspective, like, what was written on the resume and what the candidate did talk through the interview, a score against that, right? How much is it
Hmm.
matching really, right? Or where were the discrepancies, so that even if the interview if the AI said, okay, the interview is cleared, but for me it would be an area for me to assess, right, where there was a
Hmm.
mismatch, right? So that's one thing that I would. So trust is other thing, like, the score against, like, where was his voice very high confident, on which part sections of the interview, where was he a little bit hesitant to answer, right? So those will also be very important for me when it comes to the next round, right, if the candidate has passed, right? So those are some few aspects as a part of the video interview. Eye contact, confidence, voice, trust, all these a
mm,
cultural fit, right? Because the next
mm,
evaluation that I'll be doing would be more. I would like to spend time on the areas where AI has felt okay. These are certain areas where the scores and where the scores are low. Would definitely I would love to look at such scores, right? Where the candidate was taking a pause before answering, right? Because for me, uh, I really don't know like how the cultural fit and because every individual has a different way of answering. Some people pause, think, and then answer. Then I don't know how the AI will on a historical, because AI is purely based on historical patterns and all. It's going to recognize
mm,
or score people, right? So if a pause in AI's historical data, if a longer pause to answer a question results into the candidate trying to look out for answers or using the screen and using other different modes to get that answer, but at the same time it can be that the candidate is pauses before giving out that answer, right? So all these subtle things the AI should catch, saying that okay, the candidate was good, but these are the
mm,
areas that the scores were low, right? Pauses before answering, right? And then you can, for me, it would be better to from my perspective, when I'm doing a face-to-face round, I exactly know where we have to focus on. Because I'll tell you, in Microsoft, we have multiple rounds. So
mm,
when we pass on information from one round, for the next interviewer, uh, we ensure that if I've tick marked him for, let's say, checklist 1, 2, 3 is good, checklist number 4, question mark. I give directions to the next interviewer of where he needs to focus on.
mm,
So
mm,
then, by the time all the rounds are completed, a complete evaluation of the candidate is done.
mm. Understood.
So,
Understood. So the
so if you come
gaps
to
are, yeah.
yeah, so the
Mm,
gaps needs to be pushed so that whatever 30 minutes or 1 hour of interview is there, we are extracting the most of the candidate from that.
mm, mm, mm. Interesting, interesting. So, while you were talking, I would just like to address one aspect that we get from our customers when we are presenting AI video interviews, and that is how do you make sure that the candidate is not cheating or is not using any unfair means. So, before we move on to limitations of AI, that is judging the cultural aspect or how do you judge the gaps, I would like to address that, and the answer to that is the fact that the proctoring mechanisms that we have put in place and what the industry is doing in general are very advanced now. Like you can understand from the fact that the candidate's eye movement is in a different direction or lip sync like you talked about, or changing the tabs, switching the tabs to a greater extent whether the candidate is cheating or not. But we at Suitable AI do go the additional step. We also make sure that we have a human in the loop. So at the end of the interview, typically it is reviewed by a human being, which goes through each and every interview recording to see whether they found some evidence. In certain cases, we also have domain experts which join the interview in the middle to make sure to give the candidate some sort of assurance that yes, a human is also watching you, so the candidate does not get in any unfair means. So these are the steps that we do to make sure the interviews are fair. But Prakhar, if you can move on to the next slide, we had to discuss this important point that what are the gaps where human judgment comes into the picture, culture being one of them. Because clearly the future, it is not that it will be completely AI. It is not AI versus humans, it is AI plus humans, right? So while the repetitive middleware of repetitive screening, capturing the evidence and all is done by the AI, like you said, humans from one round to the other, handle the final judgment. So culture fit is one aspect. Are there any other aspects that we can think of where AI is not there yet, or where we completely rely on humans call? Yogesh, any thought on that? Any real life examples of where you relied on your or you have overridden an AI judgment?
Mm. So I would not say I've overridden an AI judgment as such, but I'll tell you one incident. So we were interviewing for a very senior position, and the telephonic interview really went very well. Then I invited the person for an in-person conversation and tried asking him some questions around automotive industry, because we come from that industry. And the area, and the person was very getting unsettled very easily, like very easily he was. And I'm not 100% sure if AI will be able to catch these observations. Like that person was literally angry, and he told that, you have you seen my resume? My resume doesn't have anything related to automobile, and then why are you asking that? And he was also trying to say that you should ask what I have put in my resume, where we understand that point of view. But what we were trying to also judge is like, will he be able to work in a environment which is like having a lot of automotive related work and a startup. uh, so I think it was only due to during that personal conversation with him I realized that this person is easily getting irritated, which I'm not sure an AI will catch.
Yeah,
And in general, I think that over telephonic conversations also kind of slightly go smoothly, but in person conversations, when you have more eye contact, when you have more when you read the expression, I think
body language. Yeah,
the body language, yeah. So I think that's where I found. So it was not AI versus, but it was telephonic versus an in-person conversation. So I
in
feel
person
that,
one.
yeah, I feel that as a leader, someone who is getting unsettled very easily was a red flag for me. And if AI can catch this, then I would use that, but I'm not sure if AI can.
No, one area I completely second your point. So when we are also hiring for leadership at our own company or for our customers, we also believe that negotiations, when it comes down to money level conversation, negotiations, right? That is one area where usually the humans take it up. That is one area which is very personal. It is very personal to a person to discuss their money matters, and they are of course not comfortable with that aspect. Apart from that, one more area, like you said, is a person getting irritated. Even coachability, I think that is a very complex human signal, whether in a high paced startup environment, and it also depends on the type of project that we are hiring for, whether the person has the ability to learn, and whether he or she is motivated. So yeah, the future, like I said, it is the idea of AI is right now to provide more evidence to support or complement the human judgment, and not just completely replace it. And that's the direction we are heading into. There are certain questions that we have received in the chat, and I would like to address those before we go ahead. I think one question came somewhere. Have we gotten any questions, Prakhar, on our end?
I think we have got some on the Q&A chat.
Okay, let me just. Can you just read them out? One.
So the first question we got was, how does AI improve recruiter productivity?
Yeah. I mean, it will definitely not replace them, but it will make sure that they are able to cater to more and more jobs, more in-depth jobs, and I think not just recruiters, even hiring managers. Every productivity should ideally rise in when you have structured data with you, and this has happened historically. Whenever a new technology has given us more data, ideally the productivity has risen, uh, and any thoughts on this? I have a very interesting idea on this, but any thoughts on this, Yogesh or Shailesh, that you would like on this particular question?
Yes, so for recruiters, I would definitely say, like, it's not going to replace them. It's going to, be a catalyst for their role. Uh, See, you'll see many a times, recruiters do call in and they say, "Oh, sorry, it was for another candidate," right? There is such a lot of pressure that because if you really look to when we when I open a position, within 2 hours, I get 800 resumes, right? As soon as we publish it on LinkedIn or our careers portal, there are like 800 resumes that get pushed on, right? Um, in the last 2 years or so, I have seen our HRs so much extensively happy about the workload sharing between the AI agents that they have, right? So, yeah, like right from job description creation, right? When the HR is creating a job description, they have to scrutinize it, run it multiple times, right? So, it's going to not replace HRs, but I will say it will play like a catalyst, which will help in, you know, mining more and, the hit ratio, right? Earlier it was like 10, 15 candidates screened, and then, we didn't get any selection, right? But now the probability of finding the right candidate has increased a lot, right? And all these AI technologies are going to help recruiters a lot, right? So this is the way, uh, you know, uh, so anyone in the recruitment domain, I think so they should understand prompting, how to use these AI agent tools that are coming up. So it's like a skill set for them that they have to add on now. But yeah, uh, this is going to help organizations plus the recruiters itself to enhance their productivity.
Yeah, I mean, and that's true for any other profession. It is being done in coding, and of course Microsoft is where, you know, after OpenAI, it's actually where the ball started getting rolled on. So we'll take one more question. There are a lot of them, so we will probably address them in an email after the webinar that we'll send you. But one more query we can pick, and I can just uh, how do AI led interviews improve candidate experience? This is one thing that is coming on top. So have you noticed something in your organizations when you have started implementing that candidates are saying that yes, my experience has improved or not improved with AI? Have they adopted to it, or are they wanting to talk to a human still? What has your experience been like? Yogesh, you can take that.
Yeah, so since I have tried this myself, Nancy. So I mean, my experience has been pretty good, and I think candidate will also be very happy because you know what, like at times like you are occupied in the work, and then the recruiter can call you at a time which is not very convenient. But when you give another time to AI, and AI can even call you, let's say at 10 o'clock in the night, right? Which
Hmm.
so I think it gives a lot of flexibility to the candidate, like he can do it on the bus, he can do it on the way to the office, or he can do whenever he wants. So I think that flexibility is kind of there when the candidate is knowing that he's talking to an AI person. So I think uh, he's on his own, like when even when I don't know if how true this is, but I kind of felt it because when you're talking to a person you still have that, not really someone like you feel have a feeling of intimidation or something, but you can talk very openly to a machine, right? I mean, I don't know if anyone has
Yes.
that kind of feeling, but I feel that these are the two aspects where the candidate can be feeling more free to have that conversation with the AI agent. Secondly, it's very flexible, right? So if I consider both of these two factors, it's candidates would be really happy, is what I feel. But I have not taken a feedback myself. I'll find it out from my team and
Yes.
see how it's.
Yes, yes. No, but I concur. I relate to it to a greater extent because there are certain things when you are finding someone who is genuinely interested in what you have done and is digging deep and talking with passion, questioning you. So you also open up. And this is something we have observed in our chats also, that the engagement or the length of the calls is much deeper. So this is something that we do concur on which we do have a poll, by the way, which is which part of technical hiring would you most want AI to improve first? The options are resume screening, first level candidate screening call, technical interviews and coding evaluation, candidate follow-ups and scheduling, hiring manager bandwidth, interview bandwidth, and or evidence-based scorecard. While all of them are very important for our audience right now, would like you to point any particular area where you would be uh, you know, wanting the AI to be implemented the first. Which brings us towards the end of today's session. Prakar, if we can give the results of I'm just genuinely interested with the results of the polls. What are the results? Which thing topped the agenda? First level screening calls, I think it's 58%. That's what I'm seeing. Yeah, it is 10x benefit, and definitely it is some one area where
Yeah,
all
and
of us have
and
observed.
and
Yeah.
sorry to cut you out, Nikhil, but then if
Uh,
you look at the poll result, right? It says first level candidate screening calls, that's 53%, and the next one is evidence-based scorecards for faster decisions, right? So I think so. If the first level candidate screening calls uh, output
hmm.
should be the 23%, right? Because how do you enhance it, right? After the screening, you're going to give a very great scorecard based on the
Yes.
first screening round, right? So they are interdependent, right? So yeah,
No, definitely. It's a natural extension. Once you get the
yeah,
first level of a result, you will want a more in-depth. And this is how I think the industry has also progressed. Initially, we started with resume screeners, then the first level screening came. Now, deeper. Now there are AI agents to judge if someone can vibe code. So the as the new skill sets are coming into the market, AI assessments are also progressing, and everyone is catching up to it. But that is this was an entertaining conversation for me, a learning experience, and yeah, Salesh, please go on.
yeah. So I just had one question for you, Nikhil. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
given the cost of AI, right? Uh,
Mm,
do you still feel like as a recruitment company, like having
mm,
10 people onboarded to do the hiring on contract, or this AI based hiring, right? From a cost perspective, as a recruitment firm, what do you
mm.
feel about it? Just wanted to because I'm not into all those things. I just wanted to understand because I have a lot of friends who are into have their recruitment agencies. So I just wanted to understand from a costing perspective, is this still beneficial from an AI base?
Yeah. So the idea is that with AI, since you are able to do a lot more, while the cost of doing one unit of work has reduced, but now you're doing a lot more work, right? So
Yeah,
rather than catering to 10 jobs, now we are catering to 15 or 20 or even 100 for that matter, right? So it's the same example when the steam engines came. Everyone thought that, hey, steam engines are much better, but people started spending more on travel because now you could cover greater distances. It's when internet
right,
came. So while the cost of internet came down, the usage expanded. So I think, and this is what is happening with Anthropic and Claude and all. Every big
right,
company is increasing their credits budget, and so are we. We are also partnering with the top, LLMs out there because the usage will increase. Now we have more appetite. Now one person in our team is capable of handling maybe 20x more work than a person which is there in a normal agency. So that is giving us more appetite, and overall per unit cost is decreasing, but overall cost will increase because we are spending more on AI credits. So this is, I think, how we have been able to see that. Yeah,
yeah. Thanks,
and
Nikhil. And
yeah, but it was a pleasure discussing this with you, brainstorming these ideas with you, Salesh and Yogesh. Thank you again for taking out the time to join today's session. Uh, how was the experience for you?
Shailesh, you want to go first?
I
I think you are on mute, Salesh. Yeah.
no, yeah, Yogesh, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the experience has been good. I mean, uh, thanks for having me on this, discussion, in this podcast. So, it is like what decision we have taken to ensure that the first round discussion is always. So I see that it's like from the pool, right? Because I think a lot of people who have joined will be from the recruitment and talent acquisition community, and they have voted this. So I feel that okay, our organization, and we have taken a right decision to do the first round screening through AI. So that is getting validated. And also I was able to put my point of view about AI versus human intervention. So I think thanks for having me, and it was really wonderful, quite insightful conversation.
Thank you, and for all our audience, which is a mix actually of talent acquisition as well as contingent workforce. If you are interested in helping Suitable out with your contingent hiring, do contact Ankit on your screen. The contact details are there. And last vote will go to Shailesh. Shailesh, any you can close it with your closing notes, and end the
Uh,
webinar for today. Yeah,
yeah. So all that I'll say is that there is no backstep, right? I can see people talking about costs and all the other factors that come with AI. But let me tell you, with organizations like Microsoft and Google and all these investing billions and billions of dollars to make these data centers, the whole idea behind this is like how mobile data was, like you would only enable the mobile data when you needed to reach out to the internet. But today, by default, everyone's mobile data is on. Those days are not far away. AI will be there everywhere. There will be a little bit of hiccups, but then I feel this is the way forward. And yeah, I have experienced suitable AI tools firsthand. So. Uh, Hope I can find certain folks where Nikhil, I can introduce you to those organizations. Whenever you upload the webinar or wherever, just give me the link and I can send this out to
sure.
my friends who are HR heads at multiple organizations. And then I just hope if I can help you in your startup journey.
Definitely. Thank you, Sailesh. That is so kind of you to be a supporter since the beginning, and you too, Yogesh. And thank you all for again taking out the time. I think we are right on time, and we'll end it for today. And in case you have any queries, do contact our team and do reach out to us on our LinkedIn and our socials. And thank you again, all of you, for joining today's session. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikhil.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Thanks, Nikhil. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.